The sun beat down on Harmony Gulch, a town built of dust and ambition, its wooden buildings bleached by relentless light. Flies buzzed lazily around the saloon doors, and the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer was the only break in the oppressive midday quiet. For Ilara, a young woman barely out of her teens, each day was a cycle of steam and suds in Mrs. Henderson's laundry. Her hands, roughened despite their youth, moved with practiced efficiency over the washboards, the scent of lye and damp fabric. A constant companion, Ilara was an orphan, a whisper of a girl who'd arrived in Harmony Gulch years ago, an unwanted package left at the doorstep of the local orphanage. She'd learned early that survival meant hard work and a quiet demeanor. Her dresses, patched and faded, were a stark contrast to the silks and satins worn by the town's elite, particularly the O'Malley sisters, Bethany and Clara. They were the daughters of the wealthiest rancher in the county, their laughter echoing through the streets with an almost malicious glee whenever Ilara was near. Their snubs were as sharp as the thorns on a desert cactus. "Look at her, Bethany," Clara would sneer, loud enough for Ilara to hear from the laundry's open window. "Still scrubbing away, I see, as if she'll ever scrub the dirt off her station." Ilara would flinch, her jaw tightening, but she never retorted. Her pride, however, was a stubborn thing. Deep within her, a quiet defiance simmered. This week, the air in Harmony Gulch crackled with anticipation for the annual town ball. It was the social event of the year, a chance for everyone to showcase their wealth and status. Ilara knew she had no place there, yet a tiny, rebellious spark flickered within her. A small part of her, the part that still held onto childish dreams, yearned to experience just one night of elegance, to feel like she belonged, if only for a few hours. She knew it was foolish, a direct path to further humiliation, but the thought persisted. The decision was made late one evening, a quiet, defiant whisper to herself in the cramped room above the laundry. She would go. Not to impress, not to belong, but simply to witness, to see the world that had so often scorned her head on. She ironed her best and only decent dress, a simple cotton frock, until it was crisp, trying to ignore the gnawing fear in her stomach. The desert wind outside howled, a lonely song that mirrored the anxious beat of her heart. The next day, Harmony Gulch would host its annual ball, and Ilara, in her poor dress, would be there. The Harmony Gulch Town Hall was transformed. Kerosene lamps cast a warm, golden glow across the polished dance floor, illuminating the swirling gowns and pressed suits of the town's prominent citizens. The air hummed with music from a lively fiddle and banjo, mingled with the scent of pine and roast beef. Ilara stood just inside the entrance, feeling every thread of her plain cotton dress. It was clean, meticulously ironed, but it screamed of poverty amidst the silks and lace. As she stepped further into the hall, the conversation seemed to die down, replaced by a ripple of whispers and pointed glances. Ilara felt her cheeks flush, a deep blush that burned hotter than the desert sun. She recognized the knowing smirks, the raised eyebrows, the dismissive looks from women who pulled their children closer as if her presence was contagious. Then she saw them, the O'Malley sisters, Bethany and Clara, lounging by the punch table, their eyes glittering with malicious amusement. Well, if it isn't the laundry girl," Bethany purred, loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Did you forget your scrubbing brush, dear?" Laughter rippled through a small group around them. Clara joined in, her voice dripping with mock concern. "Perhaps she's here to pick up some extra work, Bethany. One can never have too many clean handkerchiefs, I suppose." Ilara's breath hitched in her throat. The music, which had seemed so vibrant moments ago, now felt distant, muted by the roaring in her ears. Her legs felt like lead, rooted to the spot. She wanted to run, to disappear into the shadows, but something held her there. It was a raw, aching pain, but also a stubborn pride that refused to break. She clenched her fists, her gaze fixed on the floor, trying to make herself invisible. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing down on her shoulders. Suddenly, a voice cut through the mocking laughter, calm and authoritative, yet with an undeniable edge. "Ladies, is there a problem here?" Ilara looked up, her heart leaping. Sheriff Brody stood a few feet away, his broad shoulders filling the doorway, his eyes sharp and intelligent, sweeping over the scene. He was a man of quiet authority, his presence always commanding respect, sometimes even fear. He wasn't outwardly charismatic, but his integrity was the bedrock of Harmony Gulch. His gaze, usually reserved, now rested on Ilara, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths. The O'Malley sisters, for once, were silenced, their smiles faltering. The laughter died. The atmosphere in the hall shifted, a palpable tension replacing the earlier mirth. The air crackled with anticipation. Profound silence fell over the town hall, broken only by the hesitant notes of the fiddle. All eyes were fixed on Sheriff Brody, a man known for his unwavering sense of justice and his stoic demeanor. His question had cut through the mocking atmosphere like a sharp knife. He moved with a deliberate slowness, his spurs clinking softly, on the wooden floor as he approached the stunned group around the O'Malley sisters. Their usual confidence had evaporated, replaced by an uneasy apprehension under his steady gaze. Then, to Ilara's astonishment and the palpable shock of everyone present, Sheriff Brody stopped directly in front of her. His blue eyes, usually so guarded, held a surprising warmth as they met hers. He extended a large, calloused hand, his fingers strong and capable. "Miss Ilara," he said, his voice low but clear enough to carry through the silent hall. "May I have this dance?" Ilara stared at his outstretched hand, then at his face, her mind reeling. She couldn't speak. The audacity of it, the unexpected kindness, the sheer public defiance of the town's unspoken rules. It was overwhelming. A wave of disbelief washed over her, followed by a surge of gratitude so powerful it brought tears to her eyes. The O'Malley. Sisters' jaws dropped, their faces a mixture of fury and disbelief. Whispers erupted anew, louder this time, a mixture of shock and admiration. With a trembling hand, Ilara placed her small, work-worn palm in his. His grip was firm and reassuring. As he led her onto the dance floor, a space that moments ago had felt like a stage for her humiliation, an almost audible gasp went through the crowd. He wasn't a graceful dancer, but his movements were steady and purposeful. He held her with a respectful distance, yet his presence was undeniably comforting. Ilara felt a profound sense of warmth spread through her, replacing the icy grip of shame. She looked up at him, a small, genuine smile gracing her lips for the first time that evening. The fiddle player, catching on, launched into a livelier tune. One by one, hesitant at first, then with more confidence, other couples began to join them on the floor. The initial shock gave way to a new energy. Sheriff Brody, by his simple, unexpected act of kindness, had not only silenced the bullies, but had also shifted the entire atmosphere of the ball. He had shown the town the true meaning of dignity and respect. Ilara felt lighter than she had. In years, the weight of judgment lifted, replaced by a sense of belonging, if only for this single, unforgettable dance. The air in Harmony Gulch, usually dry and dusty, now felt charged with a different kind of current, one of hope and unspoken understanding. The sheriff's dance became the talk of Harmony Gulch, a legend whispered in saloons and church pews alike. Ilara was no longer just the laundry girl. She was the girl the sheriff danced with, a symbol of quiet defiance. This new, unexpected attention, however, brought its own challenges. Some in the town, inspired by Sheriff Brody's actions, offered her genuine smiles and conversations. Others, particularly those aligned with the O'Malley family's influence, viewed her with suspicion and resentment, their disdain now tinged with a new layer of bitterness. The O'Malley sisters, humiliated by the sheriff's public rebuke, retaliated. With petty cruelties, they spread rumors, made overt snide remarks in the general store, and even tried to pressure Mrs. Henderson to fire Ilara. But Mrs. Henderson, a stern but fair woman, stood by Ilara, her loyalty unwavering. Meanwhile, Ilara found herself unexpectedly drawn into the complex world of Sheriff Brody. Their dance had forged a silent connection, a mutual respect born of a shared moment of courage. Brody, a man of few words, began to seek her out, not for idle conversation, but for her observations. He'd often stop by the laundry, ostensibly for his clean shirts, but lingering to ask about the day's gossip, the undercurrents he couldn't always see. Ilara, with her quiet nature and keen eyes, had an uncanny ability to notice details, to sense the unspoken tensions in Harmony Gulch. One sweltering afternoon, as a dust storm brewed on the horizon, Brody came to the laundry with a troubled look. "There's been a series of small thefts lately," he rumbled, his gaze sweeping over the town. "Nothing major, but enough to make folks uneasy. Supplies disappearing from the general store, tools from the blacksmith, and there's talk, whispers, about Mr. Abernathy's new mine claim being unfairly contested." Ilara, drying her hands on an apron, frowned. "I've heard some of that, Sheriff, and I've noticed the O'Malley men have been spending an unusual amount of time at the saloon, talking in low voices with some of the drifters who've come through town. And their wagon, the one they use for deliveries, it's been taking a different route lately, avoiding the main road." Brody's eyes narrowed. He trusted Ilara's instincts. Her observations, seemingly innocuous, often contained critical insights. The sheriff realized that the seemingly isolated incidents of petty crime might be connected to a larger, more insidious scheme. The O'Malley family, powerful and influential, had long been above suspicion. But the dance had opened a door, not just to Ilara's dignity, but to the truth hidden beneath Harmony Gulch's dusty facade. The town, once seemingly simple, was revealing its deeper layers of greed, manipulation, and the quiet struggles of its inhabitants. Ilara, once a marginalized figure, was now an unlikely ally, her unique perspective proving invaluable in unmasking the true nature of their community. The dry winds of Harmony Gulch carried more than dust. They carried the truth, now slowly being unearthed by Sheriff Brody and Ilara. Following Ilara's observations, Brody began to piece together the puzzle. The stolen supplies, the contested mine claim, and the O'Malley family's suspicious activities all pointed to a coordinated effort to control the town's resources and consolidate their power. It was a web of deceit, woven with quiet threats and manipulation. The climax arrived during the town's monthly meeting at the saloon, a gathering usually reserved for idle chatter and occasional arguments. This time, the atmosphere was tense. Brody, armed with evidence meticulously gathered with Ilara's help, eyewitness accounts of the O'Malley men diverting wagons, ledgers from the general store showing suspicious discrepancies, and even a confession from a drifter who had been paid to harass Mr. Abernathy, confronted Mr. O'Malley. "Mr. O'Malley," Brody stated, his voice calm but firm, "there are irregularities. The supplies, the mine claim, it all points to your involvement." Mr. O'Malley, a man accustomed to unchallenged authority, scoffed. "Preposterous. These are wild accusations, Sheriff. Based on what? The word of a laundry girl?" He pointed a dismissive finger at Ilara, who stood quietly near the back, her heart pounding. But the sheriff was ready. He laid out the evidence, piece by painstaking piece. Ilara, usually reserved, spoke up, her voice clear and unwavering, detailing the unusual routes the O'Malley wagons took, the late-night meetings she'd overheard. Her simple observations, once dismissed, now held immense weight. The townspeople, initially skeptical, began to murmur, their faces shifting from disbelief to growing outrage. The truth, ugly and undeniable, was laid bare. Cornered and exposed, Mr. O'Malley's bluster crumbled. The evidence was irrefutable. He, along with his sons, was forced to confess, admitting to the thefts and the attempts to illegally seize the mine claim. The impact on the O'Malley family was swift and severe. Their reputation, once unassailable, was shattered, and their influence in Harmony Gulch dwindled dramatically. The community, shaken but resolute, began the slow process of rebuilding trust. In the aftermath, the town of Harmony Gulch changed. The power dynamics shifted, and a new sense of fairness began to take root. Ilara, once an outcast, was now seen with genuine respect. She continued her work at the laundry, but her spirit was lighter, her interactions with the townspeople warmer. She found unexpected friends, and her quiet dignity earned her a place she never thought possible. Sheriff Brody, true to his nature, remained a man of few words, but the silent understanding between him and Ilara deepened. Their shared experience had forged an unbreakable bond of trust and mutual respect. Harmony Gulch, though still a dusty town in the vast American West, had learned a valuable lesson about appearances, integrity, and the unexpected courage of a young woman in a plain dress. The town, once defined by its superficiality, was now slowly embracing a future built on genuine community and true justice. Ilara, once just a dream-filled girl, now looked forward, not with fear, but with a quiet confidence, ready to face the challenges and embrace the new beginnings that lay ahead in a town that had finally begun to see her for who she truly was.